The sun bled crimson across the endless dunes of Xyler 9, its rays bouncing off the sand like molten metal. A small figure trembled in the glare, its tiny body barely noticeable against the rolling hills of ochre dust. The cub was pink, albino, and abandoned. Its fur shimmered like fragile porcelain, and its eyes, wide and luminescent, reflected both fear and hope. It whimpered softly, the sound almost lost in the roaring winds that carved the planet's desolate surface into sharp, jagged ridges. Every step the cub attempted left a faint imprint, soon swallowed by the shifting sands, leaving it invisible again. The air tasted dry and metallic, carrying with it a faint hum of distant machinery from the scattered wrecks of alien craft that littered the horizon. The cub's nose twitched as it sensed a vibration. Far away, steady, mechanical yet undeniably alive, a shadow appeared over the dunes. Slowly, a vehicle emerged, kicking up clouds of sand with each tire. It was angular, human-made, and equipped for survival in environments that would kill lesser species in hours. The cub froze, its instincts telling it to flee, but something deeper, an inexplicable pull, kept it rooted. The human driver leaned out, scanning the dunes with sharp, calculating eyes. Their expression was hard, but not cruel. There was a measure of compassion tempered with confidence, a quiet assurance that humans survived because they dare to act where others would hesitate. The engine rumbled as the vehicle came closer, sand spraying in miniature storms around it. The cub whimpered again, softer this time, curiosity overtaking fear. The human crouched at the edge of the vehicle, hand extended. Their fingers glinted with the faint blue sheen of adaptive armor, designed to withstand hostile atmospheres. "You are alone, little one," the human murmured, voice calm but commanding. The cub's ears twitched. It inched forward, sniffing, sensing safety in this unexpected anomaly. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching across the dunes, painting the world in surreal streaks of orange and purple. Above, alien shapes scuttled across the horizon, tentacles glinting, eyes fixed on every movement. Xyler 9 was not forgiving to the weak. Humans survived not because they were the strongest in brute force, but because they understood fear, exploit opportunity, and bent impossible odds in their favor. The human reached down slowly. Their armor hummed faintly as it adjusted to the ambient pressure, and their eyes reflected the setting sun with a steely brilliance. The cub hesitated. Its tiny heart raced like a drum in a war march. A screech echoed from the horizon. A predator, something beyond imagination, a creature older than the planet itself. Its eyes burned like molten glass, and its movement was swift, fluid, and predatory. The cub flinched, instinct screaming to hide. The human's hand moved faster, snatching it up in protective arc. Sand exploded behind them as the alien predator charged, claws sinking into the sand with terrifying precision. The vehicle roared forward, tires spinning like turbines, kicking up a storm that temporarily blinded the predator. Humans adapted. Humans improvised. Humans survived. Inside the vehicle, the cub trembled in the warmth of its savior's arms, but there was awe in its eyes. It had felt a power it did not understand, a force that did not belong to the alien planet, but to the being that saved it. The human slammed a lever, and the vehicle leapt over a jagged ridge of dunes. The predator roared in frustration, a sound that shook the sand and rattled the vehicle. The cub yipped, both in fear and delight, and for the first time since birth, it felt hope. The human glanced at it, a rare smile cracking the usual stoic mask. "Survive," they whispered. "We will survive together." Behind them, the horizon burned with the approach of otherworldly beasts, shadows moving faster than thought itself. The driver's hands tightened around controls, veins standing out under the armored gloves. Every second mattered. Every decision could mean life or death. Humans did not falter. Humans did not surrender. Humans turned the impossible into triumph. And now, on a barren alien world, with a tiny pink albino cub clinging to hope, the humans were about to prove it again. The vehicle surged forward, engines roaring like the heartbeat of the universe itself. Ahead lay ruins, ancient and deadly, a labyrinth of alien architecture older than recorded history. The cub pressed its small nose against the driver's chest, sensing the determination radiating from them, feeling it like warmth. Somewhere deep in the sand, creatures stirred, sensing the human, sensing the cub. The human knew this. Xyler 9 was not a world for mercy. It was a world for strength, courage, and a relentless will to endure. And humans had that in abundance. The first nightfall came quickly. The sky burned with the eerie green light of a distant sun, casting the dunes into surreal silhouettes. The driver parked near a ridge, scanning the horizon. Eyes that had seen galaxies beyond reckoned the next threat would come soon. The cub nestled in the human's arms, exhausted but alive, and for a moment, silence reigned. But the universe was never silent for long. Something ancient stirred beneath the sand, a pulse that could crush civilizations. And the humans, these unpredictable, daring, unstoppable beings, would meet it head-on, because in every corner of the universe, where monsters lurked and stars whispered death, humans carried a fire no darkness could extinguish. And this fire now held a tiny, desperate albino cub in its light. The night deepened, and Xyler 9's twin moons rose slowly, casting fractured silver light across the dunes. Shadows twisted unnaturally, forming shapes that almost moved of their own volition. The cub stirred in the human's arms, ears flicking nervously at every whisper of wind. It felt the pulse of the planet beneath them, a heartbeat that spoke of age, danger, and secrets best left buried. The driver's eyes scanned the horizon again, reflexes sharp as a predator despite exhaustion. Humans survived because they anticipated threats before they arrived. They adapted to the impossible, mastering the chaos of alien worlds with nothing but ingenuity, courage, and sheer determination. A faint rumble grew in the distance, low and deliberate, unlike any natural seismic activity. The cub's pink fur bristled. Its tiny paws gripped the human's armor, as though instinct recognized what the eyes could not yet see. The sand ahead began to shift, forming unnatural ridges and spikes that erupted like the bones of the world itself. From the darkness, a creature emerged, a titanic, undulating mass, its surface reflective like black glass, spines glinting with unknown energy. Its many eyes blinked in synchronization, calculating, measuring. Every movement exuded predatory intelligence. The driver's hands went to the control panel, fingers dancing across holographic displays, calibrating shields and energy weapons. Humans did not freeze when faced with the impossible. They engineered solutions faster than fear could paralyze them. "Hold tight," the driver murmured to the cub. The creature roared, a sound that rattled the vehicle's chassis and made the sand quake beneath them. It surged forward, faster than physics seemed to allow, and the driver slammed the accelerator. Tires spun, digging trenches in the sand as the vehicle leapt over jagged ridges, narrowly avoiding the creature's snapping spines. The cub yipped, terror and awe mingling in its eyes. It felt the raw force of a universe that did not care for weakness, and it felt the humans unyielding while standing against it. The vehicle skidded across a dune, tires barely holding grip as the driver calculated a trajectory toward an ancient structure partially buried in sand. Its architecture was impossible, angular yet organic, as though it had grown rather than been built. Inside, corridors shimmered with alien light, glyphs etched into walls that pulsed faintly with energy. The human leapt from the vehicle, carrying the cub with precision. The ground beneath trembled, and the creature followed relentlessly, its black surface blending seamlessly with the shadows. Humans did not rely solely on technology. Their ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability gave them an edge against forces that had ruled galaxies for eons. The driver activated a portable shield, a shimmering dome of energy that flared as the creature's spine struck it. Sparks erupted, burning bright against the dark, and the cub whimpered but felt safe in the human's arms. The corridors were a labyrinth, but the human navigated them with a soldier precision, eyes scanning glyphs that might hold traps or clues. Humans deciphered, adapted, and improvised where others failed. A sudden collapse of the floor forced them to leap. Dust choked the air, filling the cub's nose and making it sneeze. Yet the human remained unshaken, calculating every movement in real time. Ahead, a chamber opened, vast and impossibly high. At its center, a pulsating crystal floated, radiating waves of energy that made the hair on her arms stand on end. The cub stared at it, eyes reflecting the crystal's light. Fear mingled with curiosity, a universal truth. whether in humans or the smallest of creatures. The human approach, cautious yet determined. Every instinct screamed danger, yet they pressed forward. Humans survived because they embraced danger, not avoided it. The crystal pulsed faster. Alien runes on the walls activated, projecting ghostly figures of warriors long dead, locked in eternal struggle. The cub whimpered. It felt the weight of history, the silent power of beings who had once dominated entire star systems. The humans' eyes narrowed. They studied the runes, deciphering patterns, predicting sequences. Intelligence and courage intertwined, forming a bridge across millennia, allowing survival in the face of unimaginable odds. The crystal's light flared suddenly, throwing the chamber into blinding illumination. The cub pressed close, trusting the human completely. A voice boomed, echoing across dimensions. It was not spoken in words, but in raw thought, resonating directly in the mind. Who dares disturb the relic of the ancients? The driver spoke aloud, voice steady, commanding human. We survive. We endure. We are not conquered by fear or by death. The cub's ears twitched. It felt the power in the human's voice, a force stronger than any creature or energy in this universe. The crystal pulsed in response, testing them, probing for weakness. Humans never faltered under scrutiny. Humans never yielded. Humans transformed challenge into triumph. The driver extended a hand, palm open. The crystal shifted, energy flaring like a living storm. Lightning crackled, threatening to incinerate flesh, yet the human stood firm, unflinching. The cub pressed closer, sensing the unbreakable radiating from its protector. Suddenly, the floor quaked. Spires erupted from the chamber walls, alien machinery activating, forming impossible geometric patterns. The driver's eyes scanned, fingers moving with mechanical precision across controls and tools carried in modular compartments. Every step was calculated, every action decisive. A massive stone door slammed behind them, sealing the chamber. Air hissed and sparked, charged with energy that could fry a human in seconds. Yet the driver adjusted shields, redirected power, and found a path forward. Humans did not wait for miracles. Humans created them. The cub yipped, whiskers quivering, but remained calm in the human's arms. It had learned instinctively that humans did not abandon those who depended on them. The chamber shifted. Alien guardians, sleek and predatory, emerged from the shadows, dozens of them, their movements fluid and silent. The human did not hesitate. They activated a kinetic pulse weapon, sending ripples of concussive force through the air. The guardians staggered, surprised by the unorthodox tactic. Humans thrived because they thought differently. They improvised when logic failed. They were unpredictable, and that unpredictability was a weapon. The cub watched, amazed, as the driver ducked, rolled, and struck with precision, neutralizing each guardian without hesitation. A deep hum resonated from the crystal, as though acknowledging the human's strength, intellect, and courage. The cub's small body relaxed slightly, trusting the human more than anything else in this universe. The crystal's energy shifted, forming a gateway of blinding light. Symbols danced across the air, forming equations that bent time and space. The driver understood instantly. Humans interpreted, adapted, and overcame. This was another trial, a test that demanded intelligence, courage, and unyielding will. The guardians began to reform, energy coalescing into sharper, faster forms. Time slowed, every moment stretching into eternity. The cub's pink fur glowed faintly in the crystal's light. Tiny paws gripping the driver's armor, feeling the heartbeat of a being who refused to be conquered. The driver activated a propulsion system in their suit, leaping toward the gateway. Energy flares trailed behind them, creating a blur of motion and determination. The guardian struck, claws slicing through the air, but the human pivoted, countered, and pressed forward. Humans survived where others fell, because they refused to yield, refused to surrender to inevitability. The cub squeaked, a sound of awe, as the human dove into the light. The crystal flared, energy cascading around them like a living storm. In that instant, the cub understood. This was not just survival. This was triumph over the impossible. The guardians recoiled, disoriented by human unpredictability, and the chamber trembled as the gateways stabilized. Humans were not mere creatures. They were catalysts of change, agents of survival, champions of a universe that demanded the extraordinary. The cub's eyes reflected the human's determination, a mirror of courage and brilliance, and it pressed closer, feeling a bond that transcended species and fear. The gateways shimmered, revealing a path through impossible dimensions, a journey that would test every instinct, every skill, every ounce of human resolve. The drivers steadied themselves, shielding the cub with one arm, and stepped forward. Behind them, the alien guardians faltered, unable to comprehend the audacity, the courage, and the brilliance of the human mind and spirit. Humans turned trials into triumphs, dangers into opportunities, and impossible into reality. The cub yipped softly, a tiny herald of trust, awe, and hope. Ahead, the unknown waited, a maze of challenges, monsters, and ancient power. The human took a deep breath, scanning the gateway, feeling the weight of countless civilizations that had fallen before, and pressed onward. Because humans endured, humans conquered, humans turned fear into power and weakness into strength. And the cub, pink and fragile, rode in the arms of a being that embodied the impossible. Courage, intelligence, resilience, and the unstoppable spark of humanity. The light engulfed them, stretching the senses beyond comprehension. The cub squirmed, tiny paws pressed against the human's armored chest, feeling a rush of warmth and strength that calmed its panic. Colors that did not exist in any known spectrum swirled around them, bending and folding like liquid glass. The air hummed with energy, and the scent of ozone and burning metal filled their noses. The human's grip tightened instinctively. Humans survived in the voids others could not navigate, adapting to environments that defied survival itself. The gateway spat them out onto a new world, Xyler. 9 had been a warning. This place was alive, breathing, watching, testing every step. The ground beneath their feet pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of a creature that had no form but immense intelligence. The cub froze, ears twitching as the vibration in the ground resonated with its tiny body. Its eyes reflected the faintly glowing flora, towering structures of crystalline shapes that bent light and shadow into impossible patterns. The human scanned the surroundings quickly. Every instinct screamed that danger lurked, but calculation overrode fear. Humans survived by anticipating threats before they manifested, by bending the laws of probability in their favor. A hiss cut through the air, soft and almost melodic, but laced with lethal intent. Shadows stretched and contracted unnaturally, coalescing into creatures of jagged bone and shimmering exoskeletons. Their movements were alien mathematics in motion, impossible and precise. The cub yipped, pressed closer, sensing the imminent threat. The human knelt, whispering to the cub, "Stay calm. Watch, learn, endure." Every word carried authority. Humans endured because they projected willpower where others only showed weakness. The creatures lunged, multiple trajectories, aiming to overwhelm with sheer numbers and speed. The human pivoted, deploying a kinetic shield that erupted with blinding arcs of energy. The creatures collided with it, screeching in confusion as the human rolled to one side. Humans did not fight blindly. Humans calculated, adapted, and exploited the weaknesses of even the most alien adversaries. The cub's pink fur glowed faintly under the kinetic shield's light, and it pressed against the human, understanding in a way that transcended language. The human had become its world, its protector, its guide, its entire universe. The human activated a pulse weapon, sending arcs of concussive force into the advancing creatures. They staggered, disoriented, but regrouped almost instantly. Every opponent adapted, but humans adapted faster. The terrain shifted underfoot, crystalline spires rising like the teeth of some ancient beast. The human ran, leaping across impossible gaps, calculating trajectories that defied gravity. The cub clung tightly, trusting every motion, every decision, every instinct that kept humans alive across countless worlds. A sudden rumble shook the ground. From beneath, a massive creature emerged, its body a lattice of translucent energy and metallic bone. Its eyes, infinite in number, scanned the human and the cub with predatory precision. The human did not hesitate. They activated a gravity field device, warping the immediate space around them. The creature's weight shifted unpredictably, throwing off its calculated assault. Humans survived because they were never predictable. The cub yipped, fascinated and terrified. It felt the human's confidence, the magnetic force of intellect and bravery radiating outward. The creature roared, energy pulsing from its body like a storm contained in flesh. The human sprinted, flipping over crystalline shards, weaving through impossible patterns with speed and grace honed by years of survival and training. Humans excel because they thrived under pressure, transforming chaos into opportunity. The cub's heart raced, matching the tempo of the human's controlled chaos. Every heartbeat carried reassurance. Every motion radiated strength. A sudden collapse in the crystalline ground sent shards flying like daggers. The human extended an arm, catching the cub mid-leap as they rolled across the uneven terrain. Humans did not hesitate under extreme danger. Humans acted decisively, using mind, body, and technology in perfect unison. The creature advanced, spines crackling with energy, but the human was already calculating the next move. They deployed micro-drones, shimmering spheres of kinetic energy that darted and distracted the creature. Each sphere emitted pulses that disrupted neural patterns. Humans survived because they combined creativity with courage, intellect with precision. The cub yipped in wonder, ears flattened as it observed the orchestration of survival. It understood instinctively that this being could face any threat, any impossibility, and emerge victorious. The human pivoted, launching themselves onto the creature's back using an anti-gravity harness, and planted energy disruptors at key nodes. The creature roared, a sound that vibrated through the cub's tiny bones. Yet the human held fast. Humans endured because they seized control, turned overwhelming odds into calculated victories. The creature staggered, its energy fluctuating, and the human rolled to the side, landing gracefully on the glowing crystalline surface. The cub clung, awestruck, feeling a pulse of pride it did not yet comprehend. The environment itself began to react. Crystalline towers bent toward them, energy channels forming that threatened to trap them in impossible geometries. The human analyzed in an instant, mapping escape routes, calculating energy flows, and predicting the next shift. Humans thrived in unpredictability because they did not fear complexity. They mastered it. The cub's tiny paws pressed against the human's chest as they navigated the shifting labyrinth. Each step carried weight, danger, and opportunity. Humans endured because they did not run. They adapted, they innovated, and they conquered. Suddenly, from the depths, a massive portal opened, radiating light that warped reality around it. Shadows of creatures far larger than the previous one emerged, moving with deliberate menace. The human adjusted the propulsion system in their armor, calculating thrust vectors, and leapt into the portal with the cub secured in their arms. Energy flared around them, reality bending, yet they remained unshaken. Humans survived because they did not rely on luck, they engineered it. The cub pressed close, feeling the warmth and determination radiating from its protector. It sensed the infinite courage, the unwavering intellect, and the raw willpower that humans carried across every impossible world. They emerged into another realm, a forest of floating metallic trees that hummed with energy. The ground pulsed with life. It was artificial, alien, but exquisitely dangerous. The human scanned the surroundings, identifying threats, pathways, and the potential for advantage. Every instinct, every skill honed through survival, came into play. Humans endured because they calculated, adapted, and seized initiative. The cub's pink fur shone faintly in the ambient light. It felt excitement, curiosity, and safety all at once. It trusted implicitly, understanding instinctively that humans were the apex of adaptability, courage, and intelligence in any environment. Alien predators lunged from the floating foliage, but the human countered with calculated precision. Energy pulses, concussive waves, and kinetic shields neutralized threats before they could act. Humans excelled because they did not react, they anticipated. The cub squeaked in amazement as the humans scaled one of the metallic trees, using grappling devices and anti-gravity boots to navigate the vertical maze. They reached a crystalline node pulsing with ancient energy, analyzing its properties. The cub pressed closer, feeling the weight of knowledge and courage emanating from its protector. Humans survived because they could perceive, understand, and manipulate the impossible. Suddenly, the tree beneath trembled violently. From its core, a creature erupted, armor-like exoskeleton gleaming, claws slicing the air with deadly speed. The human did not flinch. They leapt, deploying drones to distract, activating shields to block energy bursts, and calculated the creature's trajectory in real time. Humans thrived because they converted danger into advantage. The cub yipped, pressed against a human's chest, feeling the pulse of victory with every precise move. The creature faltered, confused, and the human struck with perfect timing, neutralizing it. The environment shifted again, floating nodes rearranging, threatening to trap them in an impossible puzzle. The human adjusted instantly, plotting escape, predicting the next pattern, turning uncertainty into triumph. The cub's eyes reflected the unyielding will of the human. It understood instinctively that this being could survive any challenge, adapt to any danger, and turn the impossible into victory. From the depths of the forest, a hum rose, deeper and more resonant than any sound before. The ground pulsed in response, energy building to unimaginable levels. The cub whimpered, sensing the enormity of what was coming. The human's eyes narrowed, scanning, calculating, and preparing. Humans thrived in extremity because they did not panic. They strategized, improvised, and acted with unmatched courage. The cub pressed closer, feeling warmth, safety, and the raw brilliance of a species capable of confronting the universe itself. The hum reached a crescendo. Energy surged, and the forest quivered. Alien entities emerged, massive, intelligent, relentless. The human planted stabilizers, deployed drones, and activated kinetic shields. Every motion precise, every calculation perfect. Humans survived where others perished. Humans conquered where others fled. The cub yipped softly, all mixing with fear, as the human turned the tide, bending the overwhelming odds into a pathway of survival and triumph. The air shimmered with energy, light fractured into impossible spectra, yet the human moved with grace and precision. Humans endured because they turned chaos into opportunity. The cub's tiny paws pressed against the human's armor, heart beating in sync with theirs. Trust, awe, and understanding radiated between them. Humans were extraordinary, and this cub knew it instinctively. The creatures lunged, the environment shifted, the ancient energies pulsed, but humans acted with ingenuity, courage, and unbreakable will. And as the cub clung to its protector, it understood something vital. Survival was not just living. It was daring, adapting, and triumphing where nothing else could. The pulse of the world beneath them thrummed like a living heartbeat, resonating through the soles of the human's boots and into the cub's fragile body. The cub pressed closer, tiny claws digging into the human's armor, trusting implicitly, sensing that every breath, every heartbeat, every motion carried purpose, precision, and an unbreakable will. Above, the floating metallic trees shifted again, casting jagged shadows that moved as if alive. Energy arcs snapped between crystalline nodes, illuminating alien glyphs etched into every surface. The air smelled faintly of ionized metal and burning ozone, a scent the cub found both terrifying and strangely exhilarating. From the depths of the forest, a ripple of sound, low and resonant, spread like waves across water. Something ancient stirred, a predator far older than any recorded in human history. Its form was massive, undulating, partially translucent, and impossibly fast. It exuded a presence that could crush entire civilizations if underestimated. The human crouched, scanning the alien architecture, calculating trajectories, velocities, energy flows. Humans survived in impossible circumstances because they could anticipate, improvise, and adapt faster than any predator could predict. The cub whimpered softly, sensing tension, but the human murmured, calm and commanding, "Watch and learn, survive and endure. That is what humans do." The predator lunged, speed incomprehensible, spine snapping with lethal precision. The human deployed micrograviton pulses, distorting the local gravity field around the creature's strike zone. The spines diverted mid-air, missing entirely. Humans were not the strongest in raw power, but they were unpredictable, ingenious, and unrelenting. The cub's pink fur bristled under the vibration of energy waves. Its small body trembled, yet its trust never wavered. It sensed instinctively that the human's courage was not a bluff, that every calculated motion was a guarantee of survival. The human activated a kinetic blade, energy humming as it cut through the air with precision. They struck the predator at its neural nodes, precise, unerring, exploiting weaknesses imperceptible to any other species. The creature faltered, staggering against the metallic trees, which bent and twisted under its weight. Humans did not merely fight. They engineered victory. They turned adversity into advantage, danger into opportunity, and the impossible into triumph. The cub yipped, pressed closer, ears flattening as energy arcs exploded around them. It felt awe, terror, and a burgeoning sense of hope all at once. It realized instinctively that humans could face the end of worlds and bend reality to their will. The forest reacted, crystal nodes shifting, energy pulses converging, threatening to entrap them in an alien labyrinth of light and shadow. The human analyzed, calculated, and moved with flawless precision, leaping across energy barriers, timing every motion against the shifting patterns of the alien terrain. From above, a massive winged predator descended, claws slicing through the air, spines trailing with sparks of energy. Humans thrived in chaos because they never waited for events. They created solutions in real time. The human extended an arm, deploying a swarm of autonomous drones that zipped and darted in complex patterns, distracting the winged predator and interfering with its energy fields. Humans survived not because they were stronger, but because they thought faster, acted smarter, and refused to yield. The cub pressed its tiny nose against the human's chest, feeling the pulse of life, courage, and ingenuity radiating through them. It understood that survival was more than instinct. It was intellect, determination, and an unbreakable will to endure. The predator roared, a sound that rattled crystal nodes and sent shockwaves across the floating forest. The human dodged with perfect timing, launching a concussive blast that destabilized the predator mid-flight. Humans conquer where others fail because they turn every threat into an advantage, every attack into an opening. The cub yipped, fascinated and terrified. It pressed closer, sensing a strength far beyond its comprehension, a brilliance and courage that defined the species carrying it. The human recalibrated energy shields, scanning the environment for traps, escape routes, and potential allies. Humans excelled in unpredictability, in turning the unknown into a canvas for their ingenuity. From the depths of the crystalline forest, massive forms emerged, armored, multi-limbed, radiating energy that warped perception itself. They advanced with precision and intent, a coordinated swarm that had hunted worlds into ruin. The human deployed a gravitational field generator, bending the swarm's movement vectors, creating chaos within their coordination. Humans survived by reshaping the battlefield itself, turning the predator's advantage into its undoing. The cub pressed closer, ears twitching, pink fur glowing faintly in the pulsing light. It felt a mixture of terror and awe, understanding instinctively that the human would endure, adapt, and overcome. The swarm attacked again, faster, smarter, yet the human's reflexes, intellect, and courage countered every strike. Kinetic blasts, energy pulses, and precise maneuvers kept them ahead. Humans survived because they refused to surrender, refused to yield, and refused to fear the impossible. Suddenly, a ripple in the air indicated the arrival of something far older, far more powerful. A massive entity, its form partly energy, partly solid, eyes glowing like supernovae, descended from above. The cub whimpered softly, sensing the overwhelming presence of an ancient power. The human did not flinch. They activated multi-layered shields, recalibrated energy weapons, and analyzed patterns in the alien entity's movements. Humans triumphed because they could read impossibility and rewrite it as opportunity. The entity struck, energy tendrils slicing through space. The human dodged, countered with precise strike that disrupted the entity's energy flow temporarily. Humans survived because they were relentless, ingenious, and unyielding in the face of annihilation. The cub pressed its tiny body against the human, feeling the calm determination, the unbreakable courage, and the brilliance that allowed humans to endure where nothing else could. The forest shifted violently, energy nodes pulsing faster, altering gravity, air density, and trajectory calculations. The human adapted instantly, using grappling devices, anti-gravity boots, and drones to manipulate the environment. Humans turned every impossibility into a tool. The cub yipped softly, fascinated, sensing the human's mastery of chaos, the ability to bend the universe itself to survival. From beneath, energy fissures erupted, forming massive spikes aimed at impalement. The human calculated timing, velocity, and trajectory, leaping across the spikes while carrying the cub safely. Humans survived because they turned death traps into bridges and danger into advantage. The ancient entity recoiled slightly, sensing the human's unpredictable brilliance. Humans thrive where other species fail because they were not merely strong. They were smart, courageous, and endlessly adaptable. The cub's tiny claws dug into humans' armor as they maneuvered across floating crystalline platforms, narrowly avoiding collapsing surfaces and energy bursts. It understood instinctively that its protector would endure, innovate, and triumph where others would fall. From the far edge of the forest, a new threat emerged, a swarm of energy beings, fast, relentless, coordinated. They converged, seeking to overwhelm with numbers alone. The humans smiled faintly beneath the helmet. Humans excelled in the face of overwhelming odds because they were unpredictable, intelligent, and audacious. They deployed energy barriers, directed drones, and used environmental features as weapons. The cub pressed closer, ears flattened, eyes wide with awe. Every motion of the human radiated certainty, courage, and brilliance. Humans did not merely survive. They dominated challenges that no other species could endure. The energy swarm surged, faster, brighter, more precise, yet the human countered with flawless timing. Strategic deployment of drones, and a series of concussive blasts that fractured the swarm's coordination. The cub yipped, exhilarated despite fear, feeling the triumph of intellect and courage in real time. It pressed closer, sensing that survival was more than instinct. It was strategy, bravery, and unshakable will. The forest quaked violently, the ancient entity above pulsing with energy that could collapse mountains. The humans' eyes narrowed. They analyzed energy patterns, predicted fluctuations, and acted with precision. Humans endured because they did not react. They calculated, anticipated, and innovated. The cub clung tighter, heart racing, eyes reflecting the dazzling, dangerous spectacle around them. It felt trust, admiration, and awe all at once, understanding that humans were forces of nature in themselves. The entity struck again, a wave of energy so powerful it threatened to erase matter itself. The human activated multiple kinetic shields, redirected energy with precise control, and moved through the attack with unmatched timing. Humans triumph where others perish because they turn annihilation into opportunity. The cub yipped softly, awed beyond comprehension, sensing the magnitude of human courage and intelligence. It pressed closer, feeling warmth, safety, and a spark of the indomitable that defined humanity. The ancient energy beings faltered, disoriented by the human's ingenuity. The forest trembled, yet the human pressed forward, moving with purpose, precision, and unshakable resolve. The cub's tiny body pressed against theirs, understanding instinctively that humans could endure, conquer, and survive anything. The landscape shifted again. Floating nodes rearranged, energy surges threatened to collapse structures, and new threats emerged from every angle. The human navigated flawlessly, countering attacks, predicting patterns, and adapting instantly. Humans endured because they did not surrender. Humans triumphed because they refused to yield. Humans survived because they acted where others froze. The cub yipped softly, sensing the unyielding brilliance, courage, and determination radiating from its protector. It pressed closer, pink fur glowing faintly in the pulsing energy. The journey continued, more perilous, more intense, more impossible with every step. Yet humans thrived, and the cub understood instinctively that no force in the universe could break them. The ancient entity recoiled slightly, sensing the human's relentless will. Humans turned the impossible into victory, the incomprehensible into strategy, and danger into opportunity. The cub's eyes reflected the indomitable spirit, courage, and intelligence of its protector. It understood survival, endurance, and triumph as never before. The universe remained vast, dangerous, and unrelenting, yet humans pressed forward, adapting, conquering, surviving where nothing else could. And the cub, Nestled in their arms, rode the tide of unstoppable brilliance, courage, and ingenuity that defined humanity. The forest trembled around them, every crystalline node pulsing in chaotic resonance. Energy arced unpredictably between floating structures, each pulse threatening to shred matter itself. The cub pressed its tiny body against the human's chest, claws digging into the reinforced armor. It felt the vibration of the world like a living drumbeat, a warning and a promise all at once. The human did not pause. Every movement, every calculation was precise, deliberate. They leapt across the floating crystalline platforms, grappling lines snapping taut, anti-gravity boots propelling them over impossible gaps. Humans endured where others fell because they did not wait for perfect conditions. They created them. From above, the ancient entities shifted, enormous wings unfurling, energy tendrils crackling with destructive potential. Its form defied comprehension, a mass of translucent power and shifting metallic bone, intelligence radiating from a presence older than stars. The cub whimpered, pressed closer, but the human spoke softly, a voice both calm and commanding. Stay with me. Watch. Learn. Survive. That is what humans do. The cub's ears twitched, understanding instinctively. Humans survive because they confronted impossible threats with intellect, courage, and unwavering resolve. The entities struck. Energy lances split the air, distorting gravity, displacing space itself. The human calculated trajectories instantly, dodging, countering with kinetic pulses, and deploying microdrones that intercepted tendrils of raw energy. Humans thrived not through brute force alone, but through strategy, improvisation, and relentless ingenuity. The cubs glowed faintly in the pulsing light, reflecting the raw power of the universe around them. Every heartbeat, every breath, every motion conveyed assurance. Humans did not falter, and this human would endure. A sudden collapse beneath the floating platform sent them plummeting toward jagged crystalline spikes. The human activated emergency thrusters, spinning midair, catching the cub with one arm, while the other manipulated the surrounding energy fields. Humans survived where others perished because they turned falling death into controlled momentum, chaos into opportunity. The cub yipped in awe, ears flattened, eyes wide. It felt the sheer force of will, the brilliance, and the precision of the human who carried it. The entity above screeched, a sound that vibrated through space and bone, summoning more of its kind. Shadows lengthened, dozens of massive, multi-limbed predators coordinating in silent, lethal precision. Humans survived because they anticipated patterns, predicted behaviors, and exploited opportunities invisible to any other species. The human deployed gravitic anchors, altering the trajectory of falling debris and redirecting enemy attacks. Micro-drones darted, striking nodes of energy, disrupting alien coordination. The cub pressed closer, sensing the calculated rhythm of survival, the perfect choreography of courage and intellect. The environment shifted violently, crystalline platforms twisting, rising, and collapsing. The human recalibrated mid-leap, grappling onto a newly formed node, vaulting across floating bridges of light. Humans excelled in the impossible because they saw solutions where others saw doom. The cub yipped softly, pressed its pink nose against the human's chest, sensing warmth, safety, and an unstoppable force. From below, fissures erupted in the alien terrain, spewing jets of energy that threatened to tear reality itself apart. The human calculated velocity, trajectory, and timing with machine-like precision, leaping through collapsing hazards, turning death into a path forward. Humans survived because they did not hesitate. They acted, they adapted, and they conquered. The ancient entity above pulsed with awareness, each beat of its immense consciousness probing, testing, measuring. Humans endure because they did not yield to fear. They engaged, challenged, and reshaped impossibility into triumph. The cub's ears flicked nervously as shadows twisted around them, massive forms rising from the fissures. Tentacles of pure energy whipped through the air, carving trails of destruction. The human spun, countering with energy pulses, deploying drones that disrupted the patterns of attack, and leapt toward a crystalline tower that had begun to rise like a spire of living light. The cub's pink fur shimmered faintly in the alien glow, its tiny claws gripping the human's armor. It understood instinctively that this being could endure, adapt, and triumph where nothing else could. The entity above roared, sending waves of energy across the floating forest, fracturing nodes and twisting reality. The human moved with uncanny precision, dodging, countering, and turning the waves of destruction into barriers that protected the cub and themselves. Humans did not rely on luck. They engineered survival from the impossible. The cub yipped in excitement and fear, pressed closer, sensing every heartbeat, every pulse of determination that radiated from the human. Humans thrive where others succumb because they combine courage, intellect, and relentless action into an unstoppable force. A sudden flash illuminated the forest. Crystalline towers erupted from the ground, forming walls and bridges, altering the battlefield. The human recalculated instantly, adapting to the changing terrain, finding new angles, new opportunities. Humans survived in chaos because they mastered it. The cub pressed against them, ears flattened, pink fur glowing faintly, heart racing in sync with the human's unyielding resolve. The ancient entity above pulsed again, eyes glowing with intelligence, summoning energy constructs that moved faster than thought. The human deployed kinetic barriers, activated energy redirection systems, and countered with precise strikes that disrupted the construct's formations. Humans endured because they were unpredictable, brilliant, and fearless. The cub yipped, fascinated and terrified, feeling the human's ingenuity in real time. Every movement was perfect, every calculation flawless, every action decisive. Humans survived because they refused to falter. From the depths, a fissure opened, spewing a massive creature of molten energy and jagged bone. It surged toward them with destructive intent. The human leapt, using grappling hooks to swing across floating platforms, positioning the cub safely as they calculated the creature's trajectory. Humans thrive because they turn threats into tools, danger into advantage. The cub pressed closer, ears twitching, eyes wide. It felt the raw force of human courage, intellect, and adaptability, and it trusted completely. The molten creature struck, energy flaring, platforms cracking under the impact. The human deployed energy dampeners and kinetic disruptors, channeling the force safely and pivoted, striking at the creature's energy nodes with precision. Humans survived because they were strategic, fearless, and relentless. The cub yipped softly, pressed into human's chest, feeling the pulse of intellect and courage radiating through every motion. Above, the ancient entity's attention sharpened. Energy pulses flared, constructing barriers and summoning reinforcements. Humans endured because they could anticipate, adapt, and respond faster than the universe could impose limits. The human leapt onto a crystalline spire, deploying drones that intercepted energy constructs and disrupted alien coordination. The cub clung tightly, pink fur glowing faintly, sensing the meticulous orchestration of survival. The forest trembled, nodes shifting violently, platforms rising and collapsing. The human calculated every movement, every leap, every strike with perfect timing. Humans survived because they saw patterns where others saw chaos. The cub pressed closer, ears flattened, heart racing, eyes reflecting the brilliance, courage, and unshakable will of its protector. From the horizon, a storm of energy approached, crackling with destructive force. The ancient entity roared, summoning it forward. The human did not hesitate. They deployed energy shields, redirected attacks with precision, and manipulated the battlefield to maintain advantage. Humans thrived where others succumbed because they turned every obstacle into opportunity. The cub's tiny paws dug into humans' armor, pressed close, feeling warmth, safety, and the force of indomitable will. The storm hit, energy pulses flaring, gravity shifting, platforms collapsing. The human pivoted, deploying drones, activating kinetic pulses, and leaping with the cub in arms. Humans survived because they acted decisively, innovated constantly, and never yielded. The cub yipped softly, fascinated by every move, every calculation, every display of intelligence and courage. It understood instinctively that survival was not chance. It was action, foresight, and unbreakable will. From the depths, fissures erupted again, energy constructs emerging faster, more precise, coordinated. The human adjusted mid-leap, activating gravitic fields, redirecting energy flows, and striking with pinpoint accuracy. Humans endure because they did not falter. They adapted, conquered, and survived. The cub pressed closer, pink fur glowing faintly in the pulsing energy, ears twitching, heart racing in sync with the human's relentless rhythm. The ancient entity above flared, summoning more constructs, yet the human pivoted, countered, and deployed energy disruptors that fractured coordination. Humans survived because they turned every challenge into an opportunity to demonstrate intellect, courage, and ingenuity. The cub yipped softly, pressed against a human, feeling safety, warmth, and the unshakable brilliance of humanity. The battlefield shifted again, crystalline spires twisting, floating platforms rearranging, energy nodes pulsing violently. The human adapted instantly, leaping, countering, and striking with precision. Humans endure because they thrive where others faltered. The cub's eyes reflected awe, trust, and understanding. It realized instinctively that humans could face impossibility, danger, and overwhelming odds, and transform them into triumph. The ancient entity roared, summoning the full might of its power, yet the human moved with flawless precision, countering every strike, manipulating the battlefield, and protecting the cub. Humans survived because they were unpredictable, intelligent, and fearless. The cub pressed closer, ears flattened, heart racing, pink fur glowing faintly in resonance with the surrounding energy. Every motion of the human radiated courage, brilliance, and unbreakable will. The storm of energy constructs surged. The forest trembled violently. Yet the human pivoted, deploying kinetic pulses, activating shields, and calculating trajectories with perfect timing. Humans endured where others fell, survived where others perished. The cub yipped softly, fascinated, pressed closer, sensing instinctively the indomitable spirit that carried them through impossible odds. The universe stretched before them, vast, dangerous, and unrelenting, yet humans thrived, adapted, and conquered. The journey continued, perilous, awe-inspiring, and far from over. The cub's tiny claws dug into the human's armor, pressing close, trusting, and understanding instinctively that humans were unstoppable.